Hi, folks. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to start us off with a quick intro poll. This is just to get a sense of who's in the room with us, a little bit of your familiarity with instrumental programming, how many clients you're currently working with, if you are kind of giving us a sense of your current workload that you're juggling, and if you've used instrumental before. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. That'll be one of the first things I invite everybody to do here today. Once you've done that, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. We'd love to see who's in the room. You can share your name, your role, and maybe the organization, maybe one of your clients you're working with or where you're based. Would love to hear that. And lastly, make sure to save this code. I have a special code courtesy of our lovely speaker today that will get you a discount on your instrumental subscription. So hold on to that. That's something that I will share a little bit more about as we get into our program today. And we'll get started with just a couple quick intros before we get rolling. Hello, folks. Welcome. Hi, Grace. Thanks for being here. If you're just coming into the room, welcome. We're just about to get started. We're doing a quick introductory poll. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Have you been to an instrumental event before? How many clients are you currently managing as a consultant? And some folks who are not consultants, maybe they can indicate there that they're an in-house grant writer or they're kind of a generalized nonprofit professional. And then if you've used instrumental before, I see quite a few of you are already customers. That's so awesome. Hi, Mary. Hi, Leslie from Fort Worth. Great to see you. Oh, thanks, Nancy, for letting me know. If you want to share what you would have put in our poll, please add that on in there. Hi, Annie. I hope the weather gets better in Miami very soon. Hi, Erica. Hi, Sandy. Aloha, Casey. Thank you all for being here today. Awesome. Great to see you. That's fair, Nancy. Hi, Sierra. Great to meet you. Hi, Pam. I'm going to give folks about 5 more seconds to answer our poll, and then I'm going to get us started with our program. If you haven't already, introduce yourself in the chat box, get yourself settled, and we're going to get into our programming. Hi, Alan. Great to see you again. All right, folks. Thanks again for participating in our poll. It looks like a lot of you are new to instrumental events, which makes me so excited to hear and see. I'll explain a little bit more about what our programming is like and what we're going to get up to today, but thanks for being in the room. For our regulars, great to see you again. We have some great content today, so I'm excited you're back again for a lovely webinar. It looks like we kind of are running the gamut for folks who, how many clients they're currently managing. Some folks, about 15%, are just getting started. We've got a good quarter of you that have 1 to 3 clients, and then kind of a good chunk, 20% of you that have more than 6 clients you're currently juggling. So you've got a lot on your plates. It sounds like a lot of folks are managing many things across different systems. So I'm excited to dive in on how we can kind of make those processes more serene today. And thanks again for participating. We are covering Serenity for grant consultants, how to stay sane and on top of it all. We'll be together for about an hour long today. We've got this first quick welcome, and then I'll get us right into our content so we can dive deep on the things that you all want to learn about today. You will get the recording and slides delivered to your inbox after this event. Please, please always honor your personal needs during our programs. You want to make sure you feel well fed and you're hydrated, and that if you need to step away, please feel free. But we hope you'll stay till the end. Everyone that sticks it out with us today has a chance to win a couple of fun raffle prizes. One of them being a 3-month subscription to Audible. Our speaker, Holly, is going to be sharing a lot of great resources today, some of which are awesome audiobooks that we thought it would be fun you could get a subscription to and kind of immediately download some of the resources that Holly is sharing about. And then a packet PDF of all of Holly's resources wrapped in together. So that's something that we'll be raffling off. If you stick to the end of the program and share your feedback, you'll be automatically entered into our raffle. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Anne. Thanks for continuing to introduce yourselves in the chat. It's great to see you all. For folks who don't know me, my name is Rachel. I'm one of the events and community managers at Instrumentl, and my job is to help produce helpful and educational events like this one. I'm a nonprofit professional. I come from the arts and culture sector, and now I get to host weekly grant workshops with professionals across the space. One of my favorite parts of my job is getting to see you all continue to succeed and overcome challenges that we often face in the grant seeking world. I want to quickly introduce our speaker today. Holly Alsop is from One Click Grants, and she's a seasoned grant writer and professional who is deeply committed to equity and mental health. She's secured an astounding $2.8 million in grants and contracts for 13 nonprofits, and she has an 80% win rate on her grant awards. So she'll talk about how she consistently gets that incredible win rate. I am going to pass the screen over to Holly so she can introduce herself more and get us rolling on this program today. Hey, Holly.
Hey, Rachel, thanks so much for this opportunity. Hi, everybody. I'm Holly Alsop, and let's face it, if you're new, it's difficult, it's challenging to manage multiple clients. If you're established, if you have more than 6, even if you're an in-house grant writer, just managing multiple bosses, it can all get overwhelming. And then you want to add in multiple applications with similar deadlines. So how do we do it? How do we find peace in the middle of pressure? So in about 45 minutes, we want you to learn some essential keys to stay serene. Prioritize and plan, leverage technology, communicate effectively, stay informed, and delegate. So the first thing I want you to know is you don't have to do everything yourself or do it all at once. And starting right now, we're going to establish some serenity. So I want us to breathe together, to simplify some systems together, and to make space for what really matters, you and your peace of mind. And seriously, I want to pause right now. So if you have your phone, put it on silent, put it down, close the extra windows and your eyes for just a moment and get present with your body. So as you breathe in, I want you to feel your feet and inhale up and take a spotlight of your awareness, scan of the body to your seat, your sit bones, your back against the chair, and do breathe at your own rate because I tend to breathe deeply. Exhale slowly out through your nose, maybe to a count of 6. And breathing in again, start the scan wherever you left off, mid-torso, up through the chest. Pause a moment at your heart because this is why we're all in it. We have a heart for our humanity. Breathing up to the neck, head, top of the head, above the head, whatever you believe in, even if it's just a universe, there's something out there and up there. And exhale slowly and completely. And if you have your microphone off and you can, give an audible little, because that's why we're all here, to find a moment of serenity throughout each and every day. So I'm going to start with my real world example and kind of what brought Rachel and I together. How is serenity possible? And yes, that's me last December 2024. Okay, One Click Grants was in deep. Okay, one of the most high pressure seasons ever. We were juggling 6 grant applications at once, right? 4 of them were B-chip grants. In the state of California, these are state grants, but they feel like HUD applications. They were 75 attachments each at minimum, 30 pages, okay? And you have to write a pro forma, which is this 5-year extension of how it's going to be successful after the grant, plus a budget. We signed on a new client 10 days before the application was due, who said, I have all of the attachments. Of course, spoiler alert, they didn't. And I had my retainer client who had 2 grants they also wanted written, which we advised against. I didn't think they were eligible. That was due November 28th, the 4 B chips on December 13th, and the 6th application on December 15th. And I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? I'm like, chaos was about to happen. not this time. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna do strategy. I like I put my proverbial reindeer hoof down and I made a choice. So I brought in skilled team members to share the load. I knew I couldn't do it all. And we broke down everything in digestible chunks. And the way that we decided to do it, I said, who likes to do attachments? Raise their hand. And for all four of those applications, they did all of the attachments, etc., etc. We use something in the software world called Agile Project Management. That's all I'm saying about it today. That's a class for another time. We use reverse planning, backward planning time. And here's a pro tip. If your client's involved in doing anything like collaborative writing or producing the attachments, add 30% of the time you think it's going to take. We also use Notion, which is like a collaborative space and database and note-taking tool with an AI to centralize all of the documents and the writing. And Fathom, which is also an AI note taker, who I lovingly call Celeste, my virtual assistant, to track every single meeting, which became important later, I'll explain. And more importantly, I prioritize my serenity. I carved out deep thinking time. I put in buffer space. I said no to frantic energy and yes to systems, even though they took more time, to boundaries upon when I would reply to clients. We met all of the deadlines on time and we delivered excellent work. And yes, that client who didn't have all of the documents still got funded. So did all three of the other applications. So I didn't update my numbers to Instrumentl. That was $14.65 million that they all won. Oh, yeah, the retainer client, they didn't win those grants. This experience proved something for me. Serenity is not the absence of pressure, but it's what happens when you build the capacity to handle it by prioritizing self-care, because what you do matters. What we do as grant writers is we improve our community, and this has a huge global impact. So when you are serene, everyone else around you catches that. It's contagious. So I'm going to ask to throw up the second Zoom poll. And the questions are going to be, what causes you the most stress in multiple client and application management? And is it too many tasks, confusing communication, tech overload, or lack of support? And I can't tell if the poll's up. Rachel, did that go up for them?
You know, Holly, it looks like it didn't go into the Zoom, but I'm going to drop those options into the chat box and everyone can
Fantastic.
respond with A, B, C, or D. So
Yeah,
you can repeat those again if you want to remind folks to.
absolutely. Or you can just write the words and I'm just gonna take a quick look. Oh, look, she threw it in there. Yeah, I'm looking right now. Too many tasks, B, confusing communication. Thank you, everyone says all of them. Lack of support. Fantastic. That's what I was kind of thinking. I do want to share with you, I have a vast resource list that's going to go out with the slides. And one of the reasons I'm not including it today is I really want you to just listen. There's going to be a lot of follow-up so that you can kind of just take this in and see what resonates and lands with you so that you can begin to find out how you want to adapt any of these ideas to your process today. All right, so we're going to go on to the next slide, which is going to talk about prioritize and plan. Oh, yeah, I got to have this statement. The only reason I made it through December is I leaned into these exact principles we're covering today. And to be very transparent with you all, I didn't really even realize I did until Rachel and I started talking about, like, how did this happen? And I began kind of back journaling about what we did to have this success. All right, let's go on to the prioritize and plan. So you might notice my slides aren't going to have a lot of words. I want you to just look at these images because at the end, I'm going to tell you why this matters. Prioritizing and planning matters. One of the things I learned through getting certified through learn grant writing was this concept of non-negotiables, a daily non-negotiable. So we're more than grant writers. I think you would all agree. We're project managers, deadline dancers. I love that word. Thank you, chat. Hand holders, strategic advisors, crisis negotiators. You are the client constant. I mean, you're the constant for the client. And what you do matters. Your clarity, your energy, your well-being. You hold it all together. You become the eye of calm in the center of all of that storm. And that's where daily non-negotiable comes in. This is how what you do matters and how you stay sane. So a daily non-negotiable is a practice of personal boundaries that protect your sanity. And Learn Grant Writing adopted this concept from Victoria's Song book, which is going to be in that resource. And so here's mine. I tried a bunch of them. I got burned out and I broke through. And these are my top 3. Probably going to add one more, but my top 3 are 10 minutes in nature, alone, no phone, my bare feet on the earth, rain or shine. A 2-minute meditation, and right now the mantra is, I am more than what I see in the mirror. And gratitude, at least 3, for things I didn't create. So I am deeply grateful to be here today. I am deeply grateful for my beautiful garden. As you can see, the irises growing. I didn't do anything with that. That was created by God and nature. And I'm deeply grateful for time with my family. And using this prioritize and plan and these non-negotiables that keep me sane, that gives me time with all of that. So there's a couple of tools you're going to find in the resource to begin to prioritize and plan these things. One is the urgent versus important matrix. It helps you act with intention versus reactivity, because we know every client thinks it's urgent. And this one like titrates the noise out of the signal. What is the most important thing to do? What's urgent? I like the Moscow method, which stands for must, should, could, or would. It's a structure. Again, any of these that you choose to adapt are going to reduce overwhelm and communicate priorities back to your client. You want to map out phases of the project, deadlines, breathing room, and again, your self-care overall. So has anyone heard of the concept deep work? If you haven't, when you go to the resource, you're going to see a book by Cal Newport called Deep Work. So deep working time, that's where we focus, right? We have these high value times. I just couldn't. I let emails, I let text messages, I let all of that shallow kind of responsive time get in the way. So with the daily non-negotiable, it created a foundation for me to have serenity and success. And I began to just block out that time without anything getting in the way. So I want to know, do you have any non-negotiables that you do every day? Did you even know what they were? And if you do, would you share a couple in the chat so you can inspire us? And if not, just try to think of a couple that you would be willing to do 1 or 2 every day to keep your sanity. I hear music, meditation, 30-minute walk in the morning, spending time alone, doTERRA time, lunch without work, all of the above, exercise, healthy food. Okay, I'm all down for the coffee. Yay for my coffee friends. Beautiful. So I'm going to call back to this at the end of our time and just be meditating, thinking on this so that you can come up with some more that's going to help you stay serene. So can we go on to the next slide? This is my favorite slide. What kind of technology assistant do you need? A kitten assistant or an AI assistant? Now, I'm always down for a kitten assistant. Thank you. But a kitten assistant is like that short-term gratification to really help. where an AI tool can support your brain. My favorites are Notion, which again I mentioned is like a all-in-one a collaborative platform and has an AI upgrade. Asana is a project management tool. Fathom is a recording tool. I call mine Celeste. And it's okay to admit that our brains just can't hold it all. Deadlines, narratives, attachments, funder quirks, what version of the latest document the client just revised, and simple systems can create serenity. So whatever AI tool you use, which one you haven't used, this is your invitation. I want to invite you to begin looking at them. And I have two levels. I've got a resource of AI tools that I have done, tried and true, that you'll get in the email, and you can try them out. And then we also have an AI bestie course that can walk you through step by step of how to start using AI along with whatever you do. So you can start at whatever you're at. And if you ever go to my YouTube video, I don't edit them. This is just me, raw, going through, trying to figure these things out, just like you. So not one size fits all here. It's going to be whatever works best for you. You might ask yourself, do I need simplicity in visuals or structure or team collaboration? I just want to remind you, let the tech work for you. If you find you're working for the tech, fire it. There's so many out there that you can keep going through and deciding. I liked Notion because I can make little pages public. So you'll find when we send out the resource page, it's of course it's a Notion. I didn't have to add a website page. I could just publicize it. You all could jump right in it, and then it embeds little things in it. That's why we created the next level of a giveaway is making fillable PDFs, which Notion will allow me to do. Again, that's a class for another time. Okay, let's see. Can I get, yes, you're going to get a list of all of those apps in the resource guide. There's no replacing kittens, yes. I like this. Oh, I'm going to read one more non-negotiable, walking 10,000 steps every day. Thank you so much for putting all of these suggestions in the chat. You don't know who you might be inspiring or helping to just begin to realize that a daily non-negotiable and leveraging an AI tool can be the next step to serenity. Can we go to the next slide, please? Communicate effectively. All right. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm kind of one of those knee-jerk communicators. If you send me a text message, I'm going to write you right back. If you send me an email, I'm going to type out that message. I'm an over-explainer. I will write a 5-paragraph, which maybe only need one sentence. So I have learned, Cal Newport also wrote another book, After You Read Deep Work, Read Your World Without Email, that talked about making concise responses and reducing the amount of time that we use email, text, and responses. One of the best steps of Serenity I've ever done was put on the do not disturb on my phone using a tool like Moscow or the urgent versus important to decide. Then who decides who's going to respond? That's going to be a little bit later on. And I have auto reply on my emails almost 24/7. So if you email me, you're going to get a response back. I'm deeply working Tuesday through Thursday. And on Mondays and Fridays, those go my non-essential appointments, like new clients. Usually I wouldn't do a class on a Tuesday, but it's Rachel and Instrumentl. So anything that is non-deep work, it's shallow work, it's easy to do, and I'm not trying to write, think, or do. Same thing over the weekend. Oh, and the other little tip I didn't throw in the resource is I have a separate number for my business that is publicized on everything. So unless you're an engaged client or a colleague of mine, no one gets my cell phone number. Uninterrupted time. So communication rhythms. These are predictable, consistent patterns. I literally, when my coach was telling me to do this, I'm like, cutting on with claw marks. Meredith was just like, Holly, you've got to do this for yourself and for your sanity. And when I actually began to implement these patterns, nobody fired me. Not a single client cared that I didn't respond to them for 48 hours or that someone else responded to them. It was amazing, and it prevented chaos. And the clients understood that I do a Friday update, I do a Monday kickoff, that the milestones would come in emails versus phone calls, and that I use templates and I did these synchronous updates, and that I learned to write with the help of ChatGPT 2-sentence responses. And when possible, I collaborated in real time. Yep. I had to limit the excessive back and forth. I had to. And I allowed Celeste, which is my Fathom, to write the follow-up emails from those meetings. I don't have a lot of information on Zapier. I'm just going to mention it here because I'm just now implementing it. But any way that I can begin to automate the process and what I'm doing so I can spend more time doing what I do best, which is writing grants, visioning, connecting with clients, meeting with funders, that's what I'm looking to do. Oh, and I want to go back. Yeah. Things can happen in meetings. They really can happen over collaboration. I do my best not to have phone calls with clients. I want them recorded. And I mentioned it, I don't know if y'all remember, I talked about recording everything on Fathom Celeste and then saving those recordings in Notions, the transcript. Because that client, one of those clients came back to me from that B-chip grant and said, hey, why didn't we put this particular line item on the budget? And I'm like, oh, I don't remember. Of course, I didn't say that, but I went back to Notion AI and they could remember. So I went back to Celeste, my Fathom AI, and I said, Celeste, why is there no FF&E, which stands for furniture, fixtures, and expenditures, in the B-chip grant for this client? Celeste searched their database and came back and said, because the client wanted to reduce their match requirement for the grant. Yay! I suddenly had the brilliant answer, like I knew everything at once. So my second and third brain, Celeste, Notion, ChatGPT, they allow me to appear far more brilliant than I actually am. And this picture is me spending more time doing what I said my non-negotiable is, spending 10 minutes in the backyard with my feet on the ground, petting Alfred the cat. All right, let's go on to staying informed. That's our next slide. Thank you so much, Rachel, for doing the slides for me. Okay. So I'm going to get a little help from Rachel in this section, and I just want to describe this picture. That's me talking to a couple of Learn Grant Writing unicorns. We went to this mastermind business gathering in Bend, Oregon a couple of years ago, and I really found it helpful. I found it helpful because I learned that my type of business model and what I was doing by not automating these certain processes was holding me back from growth. So one of the things that happened with me in my growth cycle with grant writing, with one-click grants, was that we grew really exponentially in the end of December of last year. And all of my systems were suddenly broke because they were for a small sole proprietor grant firm. And suddenly I had 5 teams writing 6 applications and how I was going to do this. So this section of Staying Informed really focuses on kind of newsletters, tracking funder cycles. And I realized when I was reviewing it this morning that I do believe that connecting with other grant writers is essential. I think one of the open platforms that one can join is the GPA. I just recently did that. I think it's helpful. I'm part of the Learn Grant Writing community. I've stayed on since I got certified in 2023, and I found it very helpful to stay informed that way. There are other ways to stay tracking with this. I don't know if y'all have this experience, but one of those clients I mentioned in December, the one that's like, hey, here's an application and dropped, 6 weeks ago, and now 2 weeks before it's due, they want to go after it. So for me, tracking those funded cycles and staying on top of them, public and private, is essential. So in that resource, I've got the top 4 newsletters that you can sign up to, in your area of focus, so that you can let your clients know when there's funding that aligns with their work. I also send Celeste, the Fathom AI, I sent her to advisory meetings, funder meetings, and then I ask the AI within Fathom, when's the funding coming out? So that again, I can let my clients know about what's happening. I also follow funders on LinkedIn. I engage with their posts. I watch patterns. I look for dropping information. I read the posts. I repost the posts. Are y'all picking up what I'm meaning here? I literally take the funder's post and I repackage it, link it back to the funder so I give credit where it's due, and then I'm informing who's following me, or I'm informing my newsletter followers that this funding is coming out and the funder has let them know. So I have an opportunity to do that. So does anyone follow or stock their funders in LinkedIn? Give me a 1 if you follow funding sources in LinkedIn, both public and private. Give me a 2 if you might, or give me a 3 if you're going to do that now. And do know you can freely repost this information, and now you're giving information to your clients. So lastly, this is a shameless plug for Instrumentl. I have collaborators on my Instrumentl. So when there is a funding source getting released, a due date coming up, a grant report due, I have the client's email in there as well. So it's not only on Asana, it's on Instrumentl, and they are getting notified. So it's spread across a team and a community. And this iteration means that I'm not the only one having to stay informed and up abreast of this. And so anyway, this is where I need some help from Rachel so she can explain a little better. I'm just now signing on to this level of Instrumentl, and I'm going to let her take over and help you understand better why I think it's very valuable.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly. I'll spend just one moment talking a little bit about what Holly was referring to here with our collaborator access. So something you may have seen if you're in Instrumentl already, or if you've done an Instrumentl trial before, is that we have an ability to add users to your project, right? But for some folks, they might not be interested in adding more users because that might maybe up their plan amount, right? Or maybe it's adding on seats into their existing account. So what I wanted to show you all is how you can actually just add in collaborators, because this is new access that we added to Instrumentl just in our last spring launch. I'll share my screen super fast, and then we'll get back to Holly's slides in just a moment. So for folks who already have an Instrumentl trial, I'll show you how you can find this setting in your account. This is available for pro plans and up. So if you are actually signing up for your first time for Instrumentl today, and I'll drop that link in the chat real quick, you will actually have access to this because all of our free trials are with pro settings. So you'll see all of those features in there. But for folks who are currently using Instrumentl, this is your kind of main database, your main hub for all of your grants management. And you'll see all of our projects here on the left. I'm in this tracker here, so I'm taking a look at the grants we are tracking across our awarded stages. But what I want to look at is actually our organization profile and our team. So if you are interested in adding collaborators, you'll see that this is a new feature that you can add into your settings. You can go into your team, and collaborators don't need a login. They're going to get tasks just sent directly to their email, and they can complete those tasks right from their inbox, right? So you can add a teammate here, add a collaborator. I'll add myself if I can spell my name correctly. And then I will get an email I'm only allowed to contribute to tasks. But this might be a great use case, like Holly was saying, for folks that are managing multiple clients and want them to have visibility into certain deliverables that you're asking for. I know maybe it was Debbie, someone in our kind of initial question in the chat box said that she's often trying to get deliverables from multiple clients, right? So you want to be able to invite them to say, hey, I'm looking for this information that's needed by this date. You'll be able to add them here and they'll have that task assigned to them. Yes, Debbie, great.
Yeah.
So Holly, if you want to talk a little bit more about your use case, I'm happy to kind of pop around in here and show a little bit.
I mean,
But
so, I think that's something that we all have difficulty with. Debbie,
mm-hmm.
I use another app called Score App for basic information. And I tell them it takes 5 minutes to give me all of their basic information. And I want you to know it may take me 5 iterations, meaning 5 times, to get the client to do it on their own. So if I don't get a response the first time, then I have the go high level set up as a trigger to go back and send it. So to use Instrumentl, it's like, okay, I need this, I need your program budget for this application. We want to set up triggers in the project management tool like Asana and in Instrumentl. So they're getting emails from both locations. And then if I had a team, I would assign that to a team, or I'd assign it to my virtual assistant. Please call this person, so that it's an email, it's a call. And then there's a contingency. So there is a financial penalty. If you don't give me all these documents by such and such date in the scope of work, the contingency kicks in and it costs you money. And I am certain to go over that with the client before they sign the contract, so they are well aware this is what's happening. So this way, Instrumentl can build in this iteration, repeatedly reaching out to them. We know executive directors are busy. We know they're short-staffed if you're dealing with small nonprofits, even with large ones. So it is, and sometimes hand-holding. That's why I said in that description, we are hand-holders. So if you're able to outsource that to your VA or to get it through an automatic response, then we go for that. If the response isn't in due time, you want that managed in your Asana or your Instrumentl or Monday, or however you're managing that calendar and that firm boundary. This needs to be done by this. All documents must be delivered by this time. And I'm guilty. I have started a project. I'm going to confess, true Holly confessions, that they have just the scope of work in the contract. I haven't outlined, I need this by this. However, we're doing that agile style. So we're meeting the next 3 weeks, every Monday through Friday for 10 minutes. And they're going to hear from me today. I need you to bring everything I asked you yesterday to the meeting today, or we will have to pause the grant. Like, I've got to do something. It depends, Ruby, on what the deadline is. Like, this grant's due the 20th. I want to submit the 15th. I got plans to go see my daughter in NorCal on the 16th. I don't want to be writing this grant. They don't need to know that. But submitting in ahead of the deadline, especially with a new portal, whoo, we want to submit early. So I'm enforcing deadlines and boundaries that work for me. And guess what? That means if there's issues with the portal, we can do that. All right, I have one more question, and then we're going to get started with our last one because I want to leave a little time to ask more questions. So as we're pulling up the outsource and delegate slide, I have another list of questions. How often do you stop and ask, can you delegate this? And I will try to put this in the chat. 1 is for always. 2 is for rare, sometimes. 3 is for rarely. Hey, oh, thank you, Lay. That's my amazing virtual assistant. Everyone, please love on her. She makes me look so good every single day. I love you, Lay. Okay, so 1 for always, 2 for sometimes, 3 for rarely, 4 for never. She is why these slides look so good. Okay, she made these slides look so good. She's putting together that bonus PDF. She put together the resource guide. I am hiring an assistant for my assistant. That's where we're going with this. Okay, outsource and delegate. So there is our AI instrumental superheroine, because you can do it all doesn't mean you should. And if you're a superhero, please don't let me leave you out. So again, because you can do it all does not mean you should. And the question to ask is, does this task really need to be done by me? And we want to let it go. The admin, the formatting, and the gross research. And I'll define what I mean by that. So starting with shallow work tasks, administration tasks, emails, and scheduling, formatting, gross grant research, designing the PDFs for an instrumental course. That's not where my highest value is. You want to invest in support, whether it's a VA, and I wrote this in my notes, Lay saves my Serenity on the daily. AI tools, templates, let that do the shallow work for you. If you're feeling resistance, you're not alone. I had to do Dan Martell's buy back your time, time like audit. I don't know. I think I've done it at least 5 or 6 times because I just could not believe that I was spending 27 hours a week on emails, text messages, and calling clients. I could not believe it. Like, that was astonishing to me. So chapters 4 to 6 break down how to buy back your time. And I was asking Lay this morning when I was reviewing this, I'm like, how long did it take me to really let go of email and scheduling for her to just actually take it over? A year. So please, let it go faster. Give yourself the serenity. Invest in the support. It helps you to know where you're going when you audit your time. You can cut out the shallow work and let someone who's like amazing, like Lay, take on the clarity and results, because what you do matters. And then you can do what only you really can do in all of this. The project management, the strategy, the visioning, the writing the deep work. All right, now I want to get back to what I said about gross grant research. So for those of you that have done some instrumental or database researching, putting in now Instrumentl has this amazing thing where you can put in a tangible transformational sentence about what the project is, and it will pick all of the keyword topics for you. And I know I may sound like I'm pitching Instrumentl, so forgive me, I am a fangirl. It's so much easier. I don't have to try to think and imagine. It puts all of these keyword topics, but suddenly I have over 300 grants to filter through. So now Lay and I have worked on training systems and how for her to be reminded. Now she, with training, will go through and take those 300 grants and get them to the top 100 or 50. Then I give Perplexity, which is like a research-based AI, a decision matrix, and Perplexity, she rates those. Then she and I, the AI, pick the top 5. She writes a bullet point justification for each 5. Then Lay takes those top 5 back over to Notion AI. And a little sidebar. Oh, I'm going to try to be quick about this. Notion AI only indexes within Notion, so it understands the grantee and what the grant is, and it writes a alignment assessment. I prefer to write it from the funder to the grantee, an opportunity assessment. It lists the peer recipients thanks to Instrumentl, the next steps, the risk assessment, and then when I present this to the client, they now get to see the difference between a spray and pray method and strategic grant research and application. And now you know why we aim for that type and we went so many, is because we are seriously going, this funder matches what you do. So in case you want to know about how to do that, I learned that from the AI Bestie. We're going to give you that link as well. Remember, Serenity isn't about being a superhero or superheroine. It's about you being the leader, and leaders know when to get help. So I think we have a closing slide. Yes? Maybe. Yes. Okay, great. That should take you to the resource guide. We are also going to send it out. If you don't QR code, we're going to send it out to you with the slides. I'm reminding you, choose your non-negotiables, set your rhythms, do your systems, If you didn't list a daily non-negotiable, I'm inviting you to list it now. What you do matters. You are a superhero or superheroine because you're saving our communities. And that really just touches my heart. Like, I know how many people who are changed by where the money goes that you find and you steward. So you're worthy of serenity on areas of your life, and let that one shift happen, the daily non-negotiable. The rest of these little processes, they'll fall into place with the serenity that you have. Um, if you feel like you got value today, please follow me on LinkedIn or YouTube. Connect with me if you have more questions. We'd love to be able to support it all. And remember, it's more than these little principles. It's about putting you first. That's how you really stay sane. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Yay, Holly. Thank you so much. Let me get my slides back up. Love to hear. I know folks shared maybe some ideas when we started the program, but as you're thinking about what is your one non-negotiable, right, that you're going to bring with you after you leave this webinar today, maybe folks could share that in the chat box.
I'm going to see if I can find a couple too. I'm looking.
I'd love to hear, because I find that that's a great framework for, setting aside those boundaries within your working space and figuring out really what is it that your values and your what self-care looks like to each of us, right? So
Okay,
I'd love to hear.
meditation. This is from before EFT, which is a tapping, a beautiful practice. Spending time alone, doTERRA time.
Love that, Casey. She said, so yeah, having a meeting with yourself and alone.
I do too. Crafting. Okay, wait a minute. Crafting for my YouTube channel. Annie, I want you to think about how that helps you. I'm just curious. Oh, maybe that's crafting, like crafting. Vacation, coffee in the afternoon. Okay, here's some more new ones. Belly dance. No meetings before 11. Oh my God, I worship you. Oh, what that's so great. Ending hours on time, not working too long. Okay, thank you, Annie. Crafting with Indie Annie Jones. Oh,
Oh, I
what
love it.
great.
That's
That's
great.
fantastic. That is great. Let's see, we got enjoy belly dancing, playing with my rocks. Megan, I love you. It's so good to see you here. Megan's one of my grant writing students and a co-friend. She's amazing. Again, saving the world.
I love these so much. If folks want to get an extra entry into our raffle, I would love if you would share on LinkedIn what one of those non-negotiables are. Inspire other grant writers who may be in your shoes and feel like, gosh, I don't know how to fit in time for me, or figure out how to prioritize that kind of non-negotiable that you incorporate into every day. I just dropped a link in the chat for a place where you can share your daily non-negotiable, and would love to see. You can just copy and paste what you just shared right onto LinkedIn, and you'll get an extra raffle entry for sharing out there. So thank you. I love seeing these. I want to highlight a couple of questions that came in. One is for Holly and one is for myself. Holly, Ruby had asked, I have a client assessment form which asks for necessary info on my website for grant readiness. What do you think about that idea? How does that
I
fit?
think it's great. I do. Are you able to get that? Are they doing it independently and then you're able to get them to complete it?
We'll have to have Ruby respond to kind of the process there.
I put mine on Score app and it's automated. Oh yeah, that's great. I actually shamelessly, I sell my grant readiness assessment and just occasionally market it all over the place. And then when there's a new client who I'm onboarding, it's part of their basic information. Thanks, Casey. So I think it's fantastic. It's really important to know the readiness of a client before you go looking for grants, because
Yeah.
that's a value add, as well as, like, you might have to link direct them to being able to move into, like, if they're not grant ready, then you don't want to look for anything over 10,000. You want to be able to get them awards with at least a 20% chance of winning that award.
100%. Yeah, that's a great point. The other question that had come up was from Casey. They asked, they're currently on the free trial. What's the difference in Instrumentl between the nonprofit and consultant plans? So just a quick overview there at a high level. Essentially, your consultant plan allows you to create multiple client profiles. And these are just essentially organization profiles that correspond to each of your specific clients and allow for more tailored client matches and project spaces and tracking there. It also offers a specific option for external account linking. So the account owner can directly access the accounts of their clients with Instrumentl subscriptions. So say you're working with a nonprofit who has their own Instrumentl account, you can kind of link yours in and be kind of tapped into theirs. It depends, right? Sometimes consultants themselves own the subscription, and sometimes they're kind of logging into the existing organization's subscription. So it just depends. I'll drop the link in the chat of a little more description on consultant versus nonprofit plans.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, in addition to that, the tailored down version does not show all of the promulgated data. So what I mean by that is Instrumentl takes the 990s, the peer recipients, the recent giving and grants, and analyzes the data. How much have they been giving to new grantees? What's the percentage to new grantees? What's the trend in giving? Where have they been giving is what areas, which are known as the NTEE codes, so that you can easily tell, have they been giving to a smaller nonprofit who has the apples to apples? Are they under 60,000 a year in revenue, which matches the organization they're looking? Or are they like McKinsey Scott? You got to have $1 million plus, and your impact needs to be national. So in that example I gave with the VA sorting those 300 grants to 50, I knew the organization could not compete on a national scale. So unless they were Georgia only, she didn't move them over. Unless they had peer recipients that were in the food pantry, she didn't move them over. They stayed in the untracked side. So you don't see that in the nonprofit side of it. And then, in my opinion, as a professional, I would be advising you to go look at the 990, see who they've been giving money for, scroll down, get the name of that recipient, go to their website. But with Instrumentl, they leave that peer recipient, a large majority of them, and I just click on that and I can see their assets. I can go to their website. I can go, well, they haven't been giving to nonprofit, to food pantries, but it's Tyler Perry in Atlanta, and they might as well go for it because he goes to organizations on the east side of Atlanta where they're located. So let's go for it. So now I have a justification to tell my client of why I think they might win.
I think that's a great point for folks who are using Instrumentl for the first time, or even those who are in there and are just getting to know still the platform. You'll see when you start having your matches, this is what's going to pop up for you when you set up your first project. I just went to the first match that came up for this project. It's a Habitat for Humanity related project. But what Holly was talking about is essentially the 990 report. So this is just very background information. You should make sure you're always kind of doing an assessment for your client of funder alignment. And you can do that by going through the Form 990s, but Instrumentl just centralizes that information into one easy readable page, and you can look at the key people. What Holly was specifically calling out was this past grantees highlight. So everyone that's on the free trial and anyone on the standard plans and above has access to see all of these. And again, you can find them in the Form 990s, but they're listed here again. So you can take a look at all of the organizations that this funder has given to over all the years we have 990 data about this funder.
Yeah, like you can see this funder primarily gives by the darker purple up in Washington State. So that's their majority area of giving. But they have given to some other places. And then I'm noticing already these are larger organizations, but look how low that amount is. I'm like, oh, the community services, wow. For what I charge as a firm, I'm not sure I want to go after a bunch of these grants for a couple of grand. I think I might be like, hey, this is kind of an iffy. They're based in Washington. If you want to do something in-house. And then I put those on like a watch list or other opportunities list so that the organization can still make a decision on whether they want to go after it. I'm not going to bill them for a grant that of that magnitude. So it's asking about
Totally makes
price.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I wanted to highlight one other question that Amanda dropped in the chat, and then we'll wrap up with our final things. Amanda had asked, I'd be curious how some of the consultants are setting up or potentially changing their pricing structures, given the efficiency improvements with these various tools.
Well, I don't, I'm wondering if you mean like, am I charging less because I can do it faster? No, not at all. I base my pricing structure on the fact that I have a team that I work with. When I was a solo grant writer, I charged a little bit less because I didn't have a team to support. And I was a solo grant writer. I just incorporated this year, so my overall overhead has gone up. And I think that it would depend on, like, I have a sliding pricing structure. It depends on the complexity of the grant and what the budget the organization can afford. So I know that's kind of a vague answer, but I believe that because these efficiency and the accuracy increases, that makes you better. So you deserve, your value add has gone up and you are worthy of a better rate, however you're pricing hourly or per project. So that would be my answer because you're more informed.
Appreciate that, Holly. Nancy said in the chat, pricing based on value to the client. And I want to agree. Yes, Amanda says that's exactly the lines I was thinking. Want to thank you again, Holly, for your time and your expertise, and also your serenity that you have granted all of us as we think about how to manage multiple clients and make space for ourselves in our very busy grants practice. Thank you, Holly. We're excited to have you as a partner and work with you so closely.
Thanks for the opportunity, everyone.
I want to close us out with a reminder. If you want to join us for future programs, I'm running a program this Thursday. We're talking about DAFs, donor advised funds. Holly is into it. I see the excitement. So we're talking about that with how private foundations are kind of helping maximize revenue for nonprofits right now. So I highly encourage you to attend that if you're interested in DAFs. We have Mitch Stein from Chariot. He's the kind of known DAF expert out there. So I'm very excited about that. And then we're also doing another AI masterclass. This is part 3 of our AI series. So if you've been to any of our other AI programs, encourage you to attend. This one is going to be kind of leveling up on everything we've talked about. So if you're new to AI, I'd maybe start by looking back at our recordings. You can find those on YouTube or on our blog to kind of get the baseline education there. But we're going to be diving in on actually generating prompts and doing some kind of simulated peer review of our grant proposals with ChatGPT. So that's going to be really fun. I'd love to see you all there. I've dropped the link to sign up in the chat. Otherwise, thank you again for spending your time with us wherever you may be streaming in from. My name's Rachel. Please feel free to reach out with any additional questions. It was so great to be with you all today. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Shaylee. Great job. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, folks. Bye, everyone.